but very unsettled in government. Some Puritan leaders probably agreed with this. Most people, including Governor Winthrop, liked him. William's ideas, however, alarmed Puritan leaders. Williams believed that the Puritan church in Massachusetts had too much power. In Williams' view, the business of church and state could be completely separate until concern with political affairs would corrupt the church. The role of the state, said Williams, was to maintain order and peace. It should not support a particular church. Finally, Williams did not believe that the Puritan leaders had the right to force people to attend religious services. Williams also believed in religious tolerance. Religious tolerance means a willingness to let others practice their own beliefs. Religious tolerance is in blue. In Puritan Massachusetts, non-Puritans were not allowed to worship freely. Puritan leaders viewed Williams as a dangerous troublemaker. In 1635, the General Court ordered him to leave Massachusetts, fearing that the court would send him back to England. Williams fled to Narragansett Bay, where he spent the winter with Indians. In the spring, the Indians sold him land for settlement, and after a few years the settlement became the English colony of Rhode Island. In Rhode Island, Williams put into practice his ideas about tolerance. He allowed complete freedom of religion for all Protestants, Jews, and Catholics. He did not set up a state church or require settlers to attend church services. He also gave all white men the right to vote. Before long, settlers who disliked the strict Puritan rule of Massachusetts flocked to Providence and other towns in Rhode Island. This is in red. Anne Hutchinson speaks out. Among those who fled to Rhode Island was Anne Hutchinson. A devout Puritan, Hutchinson regularly attended church services in Boston, where she first lived. After church, she and her friends gathered at her home to discuss the minister's sermon. Often she seemed to question some of the minister's teachings. Hutchinson was very persuasive, and neighbors flocked to hear her. Puritan leaders grew angry. They believed that Hutchinson's opinions were full of religious errors. Even worse, they said a woman did not have the right to explain God's law. In November 1637, Hutchinson was ordered to appear before the Massachusetts General Court. At her trial, Hutchinson answered the questions put to her by Governor Winthrop and other members of the court. Each time her answers revealed weaknesses in their arguments. They could not prove that she had broken any Puritan laws or that she had disobeyed any religious teachings. Then, after 2 long days of hostile questioning, Hutchinson made a serious mistake. She told the court that God spoke directly to her by the voice of his own spirit to my soul. Members of the court were shocked. Puritans believed that God spoke only through the Bible, not directly to individuals. The court ordered her out of the colony. In 1638, Hutchinson, along with her family and some friends, went to Rhode Island. The Puritan leaders had won their case. For later Americans, however, Hutchinson became an important symbol of the struggle for religious freedom. Next page. Puritans at war with Native Americans, in blue. From Massachusetts Bay, settlers fanned out across New England. Some built trading and fishing villages along the coast of Boston. In 1680, the king made these coastal settlements into a separate colony called New Hampshire. The first meetings between English settlers and Native Americans did not foreshadow the conflict that would eventually occur between them. Some colonial leaders, such as William Penn and Roger Williams, tried to treat Native Americans fairly. As more colonists settled in New England, they began to take over more Native American lands. By 1670, nearly 45,000 English settlers were living in the towns in New England. As a result, fighting broke out between white settlers and Indian nations of the region. The largest conflict came in 1675. Metacom, Metacom, also known by his English name King Philip, was chief of the Wampanoag Indians. He watched for years as English towns were built on Wampanoag lands. "I'm resolved not to see the day when I have no country," he told an English friend. Metacom's people attacked villages throughout New England. Another Indian group from Rhode Island to Maine soon allied themselves with the Wampanoags. They were determined to drive the English settlers off their land. Metacom and his allies destroyed 12 towns and killed more than 600 European settlers. After more than a year of fighting, however, Metacom was captured and killed. The English sold his family and about 1,000 other Indians into slavery in the West Indies. Other Indians were forced from their homelands. The pattern of English expansion followed by war was repeated between colonists and Indians throughout the colonies. It would continue for many years to come. Life in New England towns and villages. Blue. Puritans believed that the people would worship and tend to local matters as a community. As a result, New England became a land of tightly knit towns and villages. At the center of each village was the common, that's in blue, common, an open field where cattle grazed. Nearby stood the meeting house where Puritans worshipped and held town meetings. Religion and family. The Puritans took their Sabbath, or holy day of rest, very seriously. On Sundays, no one was allowed to play games or visit taverns to joke, talk, or drink. The law required all citizens to attend church services, which would last all day. During the 1600s, women sat on the side of the church and men on the other. Blacks and Indians stood in the balcony at the back. Children had separate pews where an adult watched over them. Red, government. At town meetings, blue. At town meetings, settlers discussed and voted on many issues. What roads should be built? How much should the schoolmaster be paid? Town meetings gave New Englanders a chance to speak their minds. This early experience encouraged the growth of democratic ideas in New England. Puritan laws were strict. About 15 crimes carried the death penalty. One crime, punishable by death, was witchcraft. In 1692, Puritans in Salem Village executed 20 men and women as witches. Economy. Red. New England was a difficult land for colonists. The rocky soil was poor for farming. After a time, however, Native Americans taught English settlers how to grow many crops, such as Indian corn, pumpkins, squash, and beans. Although the soil was poor, the forests were full of riches. Settlers hunted wild turkey and deer. Settlers also cut down trees and floated them to sawmills near ports such as Boston, Massachusetts, or Portsmouth, New Hampshire. These cities grew into major shipbuilding centers. Other New Englanders fished for cod and halibut. In the 1600s, people began to hunt whales. Whales supplied oil for lamps and other products. In the 1700s and 1800s, whaling grew into a big business. Red. Decline of the Puritans. During the 1700s, the Puritan traditions declined. Fewer families left England for religious reasons. Ministers had less influence on the way colonies were governed. Nevertheless, the Puritans had stamped New England with their distinctive customs and their dream of a religious society. Section 1, Assessment. Number 1. Identify. Explain the significance of A. Puritans. B. John Winthrop.